The 1930s, a decade of depression, but beneath the quiet, new evils were rising.
Totalitarian leaders promised glory, feeding national resentment and rage.
Germany rearmed swiftly, ignoring treaties and provoking the fragile peace.
September 1, 1939. The invasion of Poland shattered the illusion of safety.
Blitzkrieg, lightning war, speed, coordination, and overwhelming force.
Britain and France declared war, but their response came too late.
The Maginot Line, a colossal defense, proved useless against mobility.
Within weeks, Norway and Denmark fell, securing the northern flank. Move! Move! Get off the beach!
May 1940. The assault on the West began, bypassing traditional defenses.
Panic gripped Europe as refugees fled the unstoppable German advance.
Dunkirk, a desperate evacuation of stranded Allied forces to safety across the Channel.
Civilian mariners became heroes, ferrying soldiers home under fire.
Paris fell. France was conquered, shocking the democratic world to its core.
The Battle of Britain, the first major military campaign fought entirely by air.
The young pilots of the RAF fought fiercely, defending their homeland from the Luftwaffe.
Night after night, the Blitz terrorized London, testing civilian resilience.
It's all right, kids. We're safe down here. Just try and get some rest.
Britain held fast. Hitler shifted his focus eastward, towards his ideological enemy. Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion force in human history, launched against the Soviet Union. The Soviets were caught unprepared, their armies devastated by the initial onslaught. The war became a brutal struggle of annihilation on the Eastern Front. No quarter was given.
Leningrad suffered a desperate, agonizing siege, starving its population.
Meanwhile, Japanese aggression mounted in the Pacific, threatening U.S. interests.
December 7, 1941. A date which will live in infamy. Pearl Harbor.
American naval power was crippled in a surprise, devastating attack.
The sleeping giant was awakened. America declared war, entering the global conflict. The war truly became global, stretching from the deserts of Africa to the jungles of Asia. North Africa became a pivotal theater, pitting the Desert Fox against the Allies.
Supply lines were stretched thin, making logistics the true battlefield challenge.
The crucial oil fields of the Middle East were vital for victory. Factories across America shifted production, churning out tanks, planes, and ships. Women entered the workforce in massive numbers, fueling the war machine. Hitler's ultimate target, the city bearing Stalin's name, Stalingrad. The fighting devolved into vicious, hand-to-hand combat amidst the rubble. Every street, every house, became a fortress, a symbol of resistance.
The infamous Russian winter descended, crueler than any enemy.
The Soviet counteroffensive encircled the German Sixth Army, trapping them completely.
The surrender at Stalingrad marked the psychological turning point on the Eastern Front. In the Pacific, the tide began to shift with the strategic victory at Midway. The U.S. Navy established dominance, beginning the arduous campaign of island hopping.
Guadalcanal, a brutal, prolonged fight against entrenched Japanese defenses in the jungle. Japan's soldiers often chose death over surrender, escalating the ferocity of battle. Allied forces moved into Italy, the soft underbelly of Axis Europe.
Mussolini was deposed, but German forces maintained a stiff, deadly defense. Monte Cassino became a notorious bloodbath, hindering the Allied advance for months.
The cost of liberation was high. Every mile paid for in blood.
Intelligence played a crucial role, none more vital than the breaking of Enigma.
The Allies prepared for the monumental task, invading mainland France.
June 6, 1944, D-Day. Operation Overlord began under stormy skies. Paratroopers dropped behind enemy lines, sowing chaos and confusion.
Omaha Beach, 5 miles of hell, facing fierce machine gun fire from the cliffs.
Brave engineers cleared obstacles under intense enemy barrage. Against all odds, the beachheads were secured. The foothold was established. The race to Paris was on, pushing the German armies backward relentlessly.
Resistance fighters rose up, aiding the Allies in sabotaging German infrastructure.
The liberation of Paris brought ecstatic crowds and emotional celebrations.
On the Eastern Front, the Soviets launched Operation Bagration, destroying the German Army Group Center. On the Eastern Front, the Soviets launched Operation Bagration, destroying the German Army Group Center.
Hitler faced constant threats, surviving assassination attempts by his own officers.
The Holocaust, the systematic industrialized murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others. Unspeakable horror occurred in the concentration camps, shielded from the world.
Allied armies pushed into the Netherlands, seeking to secure key bridges at Arnhem.
The effort failed, extending the war and bringing hardship to the Dutch people.
The Battle of the Bulge, Germany's final, desperate winter offensive in the Ardennes.
American troops fought valiantly in extreme cold, often surrounded and undersupplied.
Bastogne held fast, refusing to surrender, turning the tide of the German assault. The skies over Europe were dominated by Allied bombers, targeting Axis industry.
Dresden, Hamburg, Berlin. Cities reduced to ruins by relentless air raids.
Across the Rhine, the Allies breached the German heartland. The end was near.
The race to Berlin intensified between the Western Allies and the Soviets.
In the Pacific, the island hopping campaign reached a fever pitch.
Iwo Jima, the iconic struggle for a small, volcanic island airfield.
Okinawa, a terrifying preview of the resistance expected in a mainland invasion.
kamikaze attacks became desperate tools, sacrificing pilots for momentary damage. Soviet forces entered the ruined suburbs of Berlin, street fighting every block.
April 30, 1945. Hitler committed suicide. The nightmare leadership was finally over.
May 8, 1945. Victory in Europe. VE Day sparked jubilation worldwide. The war continued relentlessly in the Pacific. Japan refused to surrender.
The U.S. prepared for Operation Downfall, estimating 1 million Allied casualties. Secretly, the Manhattan Project developed a weapon unlike any before. The immense power of the atomic bomb promised a terrifying, abrupt end.
August 6, 1945. Hiroshima. The world entered the nuclear age.
The immediate destruction was absolute, followed by lingering death and radiation.
August 9. Nagasaki. The second bomb cemented the demand for surrender.
August 15, 1945. Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's unconditional surrender.
BJ Day. The Second World War, the largest conflict in history, was finally over.
50 to 8 million people perished, civilians outnumbering soldiers. The true scale of the atrocities committed by the Axis was revealed.
Leaders were held accountable at the Nuremberg and Tokyo war crimes trials.
Europe and Asia lay utterly devastated. The work of rebuilding began immediately.
New global institutions, like the United Nations, were created to safeguard peace.
The US and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, diametrically opposed.
A new age of tension began, known as the Cold War, defined by nuclear deterrence.
Technology leaped forward, driven by wartime innovation in medicine and science.
Nations were redrawn, empires collapsed, and liberation movements gained momentum.
World War II changed the world forever, forging the difficult path to modern history.